G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, the National Anti-Corruption Commission is sitting on a corruption report in relation to Home Affairs when Peter Dutton was the Minister for Home Affairs, and they won't release it. And the question's got to be asked, is this the first National Anti-Corruption Commission attempted cover-up? And it supports the allegation I made in an article I published a couple of weeks ago in relation to NACC Deputy Commissioner Jala Hinchcliffe being Peter Dutton's puppet. Well, let's have a look at the background of the report and the key element in there, which seems to suggest it's a cover-up. Over the last few days, and I did a video yesterday, corruption in relation to the detention centres, one in Nauru and one in Manus Island, have been hit the media on 60 Minutes on Sunday. Former director of Paladin, who run one of the detention centres or run the security for it, made allegations of bribery. And from what I could see, he had recordings of the alleged bribes or attempted bribes. Now, yesterday, there were reports that Paladin's major shareholder, Craig Thrupp, paid $1.2 million to his mother, who works at Home Affairs. So the bottom line is he's being paid over $500 million from Home Affairs. His company has Paladin. He's an 80% shareholder. And then he's paid millions of dollars, or at least $1.2 million, back to his mother, who works at Home Affairs. Now, that's got the smell of corruption right across it. And the article said ultimately he was paid $532 million, well, his company was. And financial reports show that Thrupp, who's 80% shareholder, was paid a $40 million dividend in 2009. So he's making big dollars. He's funneled some back to his mother. Apparently that article also says that he paid his father $1 million. And what he's put down, or his mother's put down, a number of the invoices where he's paid his mother, he didn't pay the $1.2 million in one hit. He paid a number of invoices that says consulting services. So his mother is working at Home Affairs, is charging his son consulting services for the $532 million that Home Affairs paid him, paid his company, Paladin. Now, I'll read you a couple of paragraphs from the article. The flow of large sums of money from Home Affairs to an offshore processing contract and back to Home Affairs official, which is his mother, raises questions about the perceptions of conflict of interest. The Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity's inquiry into the payments, codename Operation Bannister, looked into an alleged corruption issue regarding a series of financial transactions from Paladin accounts to Home Affairs employee between 2017 and 2020. Well, that's obviously his mother. A NACC spokesman said on Tuesday, while the probe was completed before NACC's formation this month, the spokesperson said the investigation report was still being prepared and it would be premature to disclose any findings until it was complete. In that report by the Sydney Morning Herald, Craig Thrupp, the CEO or the major shareholder, 80% shareholder of Paladin, said, or he's quoted as saying, he also insisted he was not aware of the details of any confidential investigation by NACC. Now, I'll get back to that NACC investigation in a minute, but it's very important. He says he's not aware of it. That means if the NACC or the previous body, the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity, have they investigated and not questioned him? Because if they haven't questioned Craig Thrupp, who's the person who's alleged to make these payments, or he's admitted making these payments to his mother, if they haven't questioned him, well, they haven't done an investigation, have they? It's been a cover-up from start to finish. But anyhow, I'll just mention a bit more. And just so people understand, the National Anti-Corruption Commission didn't start from scratch. It took over another government department called the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity. Now, I wrote an article about them a month or so ago, only 3 or 4 weeks ago, actually. And I accused the commissioner of that department, Jala Hinchcliffe, of being corrupt, being Peter Dutton's puppet, because when the National Anti-Corruption Commission took over that department, Jala Hinchcliffe, who was a commissioner of the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity, became a deputy commissioner of the National Anti-Corruption Commission. But my investigation showed that when she was at the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity, she was appointed in effect by the previous government. And when she became the commissioner for that, she swept a whole lot of corruption investigations under a carpet. And I'll read you a bit from that article I've written. Now, I published the article on the 12th of July. Peter Dutton's puppet is National Anti-Corruption Commission Deputy Commissioner Jala Hinchcliffe. Has the NACC already been corrupted? And I say in that article, Peter Dutton covered up a lot of corruption in the previous government. And one of his puppets he used to do the dirty work was Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity Commissioner, Jarla Hinchcliffe. After Jarla Hinchcliffe was appointed Commissioner of the ACLEI in 2020, she ended 16 corruption investigations, 13 of which were into Home Affairs. And who was the Minister for Home Affairs? Yep, Peter Dutton. One of the biggest corruption scandals being investigated by the ACLEI that Jarla Hinchcliffe swept under the carpet was a fraudulent $39 million paid to a company called Austell. A corrupt payment of $39 million was made by the Australian Border Force to a company called Austell in 2015-2016, when federal MP Peter Dutton was in charge of Border Force. Two barristers who were meant to be investigating the matter on behalf of the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity were sacked by the newly appointed Commission Chief, Jarla Hinchcliffe. So that shows as soon as she became Commissioner of the Law Enforcement Integrity Commission, she started closing down corruption inquiries, which has got corruption written all over it. She was a patsy for Peter Dutton. Now, the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity, they had a limited scope. They could only investigate certain departments like the Federal Police and obviously Border Force. And that's why they were closed down and the National Anti-Corruption Commission's taken over, because the National Anti-Corruption Commission can basically investigate any corruption in the government. Now back to Craig Thrupp and his payments to his mother, $1.2 million over 3 years. And as they said, some of them were for consulting services, they said. Now he's denying that. It was a mistake, he said. And the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity, the Operation Bannister, which was meant to be an investigation into those payments, well, that was obviously done by Jarla Hinchcliffe. And it was obviously going to be swept under the carpet like she swept all other corruption under the carpet when Scott Morrison was in power, when Peter Dutton was at his height of power, when he was Minister for Home Affairs, etc. But the problem is corruption within Paladin and Home Affairs has hit the fan in the last few days. So if the National Anti-Corruption Commission was to release that report saying, oh, no corruption there, but all this other corruption's hitting the fan, and there's calls by the Greens and independents to have a public inquiry, a royal commission into the detention centres and the multi-million dollars paid to the companies running those detention centres, well, then the NACC could be in a lot of trouble, the National Anti-Corruption Commission, for a cover-up. Almost everyone reading the reports in the last couple of days would have missed the fact that the NACC are investigating that small element, the payments to the mother. But it was the fact that Craig Thrupp said he was not aware of the NACC investigation. Well, he would have had to have been aware of the investigation. Well, it's not actually the NACC who investigated, it's a previous body, the Australian Commission for Law Enforcement Integrity. But that's been overtaken by the NACC now. So he was not aware of an investigation. Well, it's probably true. The previous body wouldn't have investigated. They were in the habit of sweeping corruption under the carpet. The problem is if they allow the NACC to issue the report, well, that's the NACC sweeping that under the carpet. So they're probably reviewing it, I suspect. And that Operation Bannister report into those payments, I think it'll probably be a year or two before that's ever made public, even though it's apparently finished. They should be able to publish it in a couple of days, a week or whatever. But not only are there calls for public inquiry, I think the relevant ministers referred the corruption that's been reported in the last few days to the NACC. Peter Dutton could have made a public statement, even though apparently he's on holidays. I published a video saying he's in hiding yesterday, but apparently he's over in Europe on holidays. I'll put a link to the video I published yesterday below this video on YouTube, and I'll put a link to that article I published a couple of weeks ago in relation to NACC Deputy Commissioner Jarla Hinchcliffe being Peter Dutton's puppet. And I'll publish an article on my website in the next couple of days on this issue. Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media, from 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself. I publish a website, YouTube channel, Facebook page and Twitter account, and I'm reliant on donations to keep on publishing. So please support my Patreon account. I currently have 287 patrons donating $1,769 a month, and you can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. And so please support that, and please share this video on Facebook and Twitter, etc. Thank you for your time and have a good day.